الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا وقدوتنا محمد عليه أفضل الصلاة وأزكى التسليم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. First of all, I have to apologize for being late. I can't stand being late. It's a pet peeve of mine. Even in Medina, the 5 years I lived in Medina, I was that one sucker who was always like in class on time. Right? I hadn't learned the Muslim Standard Time, and I still haven't. So it's not like me, and I apologize. That's not proper adab. May Allah bless you all for coming out. It's a lovely community. Thank you so much for inviting me. We'll get right to it to maximize our time, and then I think, inshallah, we have time for questions towards the end. I was told to speak about power in the Quran and the Sunnah, and this is something that I have started to reflect on in obviously the past year after October 7th. 2023, because one of the dangers of, let me put it this way, one of the limitations that we face as a Muslim community is the way in which we learn Islam, or the type of Islam that we learn. And if we are only taught a secularized, individualistic Islam that is limited to 4 walls and 5 pillars, then this is really a caricature of Islam. This is not Islam holistically. This is not the Islam of the companions. This is not the Islam that the companions brought from Morocco to China. This is more of a Protestant Islam. This is more of a nation-state friendly Islam, right? So I began this sort of question of recovery. Like, how are we going to sort of take back Islam? And if you saw, I think a couple days ago or yesterday, they published on the Ummatics YouTube channel. I recommend in your spare time this weekend, inshallah, to check it out. I have a short talk where I talk about the theology of suffering on one hand and the theology of the state on the other. And that this is not a sectarian issue. This is actually something that is existent in multiple sects of Islam. The peddling and the teaching Muslims the theology of the suffering and the theology of the state is something that limits all of us. The theology of the suffering being basically that you just have to suffer in silence, and any attempt to resist oppression is objecting to Allah's decree. That is the theology of suffering. And that was not the understanding of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. That they were able to be completely submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and take the banners of Islam again to Morocco and China. And on the other side, we have the theology of the state, that the state can do no wrong, trust the leader, just listen to the leader, you all are just donkeys, azakumullah, and whatever they say goes. We could say that these are bid'ah. These are, I've been calling them the new irja, the new heresy in which we act as if the relationship between beliefs and actions is completely severed. But let's leave that for a second. So what happened, what was the natija, the fruit of this sort of realization or this exercise was, I went back to the Quran. And during Ramadan, when we make khatam, I'd had a legal pad. Actually, I have this legal pad with me right now. Matter of fact, that was not on purpose. And I decided, let me just record every ayah of the Quran that has some sort of fa'idah for politics. And I went ayah by ayah, and there's page 1, and here's page 2, and I got sloppy and I got out of order, and page 3, I'm not a very good penmanship, my penmanship is horrible. Better in Arabic than in English. And the Quran was filled with lessons on politics and power. And then we look to the seerah, and look at this. Qadarullah ma sha fa'al. One of the books I have with me, the Maghazi of the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam by Imam al-Ghazali Press, filled with lessons for power and politics, and thrown into high contrast the ineptitude and the incapacity from which we suffer here in the United States of America, where our tax dollars go towards bombing children in Gaza and Palestine, and some of those people who are actively writing those checks are up for re-election this year. and our utter incapacity to have moral clarity, to have the ability to stand on principle, or to act principally, or even to understand how change happens, or even to understand how politics work. So we have to go back to the beginning. We have to go back to the Quran. We have to go back to the Seerah. And we have to see what it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us through this timeless guidance that sometimes we forget, sometimes we neglect, sometimes we leave it collect dust on the shelf, or we forget all about these particular verses. The first hypothesis, or the first point, is that Islam has a political mandate. Okay, that's premise number one. Islam has a political mandate. What does that mean? That means that the righteous must rule. If the righteous rule, everyone prospers. The rights of everyone are taken care of. Bel, the rights of the entire creation are taken care of. And if the righteous do not rule, then the wicked take their place. And if the wicked take their place, then it's the opposite. Everyone suffers. Bel, everything suffers. The earth, the water, the air, everything suffers. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ بِالْحَقِّ لِتَحْكُمَ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ بِمَا أَرَاكَ اللَّهُ وَلَا تَكُنْ لِلْخَائِنِينَ خَصِيمًا. That certainly we have sent down to you, O Prophet ﷺ, the book in truth, li, lam ta'lil, for the purpose of ruling between people, for the purpose of contributing to society, for the purpose of influencing what is going on. Bima arak Allah, by that which Allah has shown you things, the implication of which other people cannot see, other people have not seen, other people are blind to, because they are materialistic. They do not acknowledge the soul. They do not see the difference between a human being that believes in the afterlife and a human being that does not believe in the afterlife. This is a mandate. This is a mandate. It was given to the Prophet ﷺ, and it extends until the Day of Judgment. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلَنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْمِيزَانَ لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ وَأَنزَلْنَا الْحَدِيدَ فِيهِ بَأْسٌ شَدِيدٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ وَلِيَعْلَمَ اللَّهُ مَنْ يَنْصُرُهُ وَرُسُلَهُ بِالْغَيْبِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ قَوِيٌّ عَزِيزٌ. We have certainly sent down our prophets with clarifying signs or miracles, and we have sent down with them the book and the mizan. Why? There's that lam ta'lil again. لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ, so that justice could be established on earth. So that justice could be established between people. How can you pretend to administer justice, or how can you expect justice to be delivered to the people from people who do not even acknowledge that there is ghaib in the first place? That do not even acknowledge that there is such a thing as a soul or an afterlife. And how many times in the Quran does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He brings it back to belief, not in just Allah, but belief in the afterlife. Believe in eternal consequences from a perfect God who is able to hold you accountable 100%. So this is an amazing ayah. We see both the same mandate or we say political mandate, that this stuff is real. It was given to us to influence society. It was given to us to contribute to society because there are realities that we know that other people do not know. There are realities that were revealed